The gospel this morning is the raising of Lazarus. It's John chapter 11, verses 32 to 44. And in this gospel, in the Gospel of John, in this story, Jesus hears that Lazarus is sick. He says that this will be a sign to everyone, and he chooses not to go to his friend to heal him, but rather, and Jesus seems to know that his friend dies, and he goes to see his friend after he's died. And when he arrives, Lazarus' sister, Mary, says, if you had arrived here earlier, you would have been able to save him. And Jesus knows this. The other thing that's, and Jesus is consumed with emotion, regardless of Jesus's motivations. It's a strange thing when we see Jesus hearing that his friend is dying, and he stays where he was for another 2 days. Regardless of his motivations, he's overcome with feeling and emotion several times. It's in this passage that we hear Jesus wept. That's the shortest phrase, probably the shortest phrase in the New Testament. Jesus wept. That's the whole verse. He's overcome by feeling several other times. He truly loved Lazarus. And he goes to the mouth of this cave. This is a tradition for how people were buried. After you died, you would go into a cave-like place, which would be blocked off so that animals couldn't get at you. And over the course of the next year, your body would slowly decompose. And over that time, there's all sorts of interesting pie around that I won't get into. But that was the process that had begun for Lazarus. That's why he was in the cave. And Jesus arrives 4 days later, and he says, "Lazarus, come out." And the living Lazarus comes out of the cave. And he's covered with all of the linens that he would have been wrapped in for burial. And Jesus says to take the wrappings off of Lazarus. And that's the end of the story. And it's one of those stories that, on one hand, it's an incredible culmination of the signs that Jesus offers throughout John's gospel. It's Lazarus lives very close to Jerusalem. The Judeans hear of this. Some of them are there when this happens. The Judeans, of course, are around Jerusalem. Judea is to the south. That's where Jerusalem is. Jesus is from Galilee to the north, and is treated as an outsider. He is an outsider. It's further north than Samaria. And so when the Judeans hear of this, they're shocked. It's one of the reasons why they want to arrest Jesus is all of the power and the amount of people that are moved by this story of Lazarus' healing. There's a temptation for us, perhaps, to say, this is the big story. This is really what it's all about. The temptation for a Christian would be, well, isn't this really in line with what I'm hoping for me? I'm hoping that one day when I die, I will be raised too, just like Lazarus. I'm hoping that my loved ones will be raised like Lazarus. Isn't this kind of like the big culminating point of Jesus' ministry? That what Jesus' life, death, and resurrection are all about is about this kind of stuff. But I would suggest to you that no, that the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus is in fact a far bigger deal, far more profound on a cosmic level than even the resurrection of Lazarus from death. So what Jesus was all about was showing the world, showing us, showing everybody who God really is, who God has been all along, what the world really is, what the cosmos really is. He's talking about not just even Earth, but the cosmos. And what Jesus is saying throughout his ministry, and what the Gospels are saying after Jesus is raised, is the nature of reality itself is woven into reality itself is the love of God. That the most powerful force in the cosmos is the love of God that we have encountered through the love of Jesus. It's the most powerful thing. It's the thing that knits everything together. It's the thing that that motivates us and shapes us and forms us. It is it. And I'll say to you that declaration, it's a huge cosmic thing. It's not describing something that will happen. Some of us can get hung up on the book of Revelation and other books that talk about the end times and say maybe one day that'll happen. No, that the Gospels are saying that has been the case before. It is the case now, and it will continue to be the case forever. The apocalypse and all that end time stuff is one day everybody's going to see. One day everybody's going to know. But we're not quite there yet. But this is Jesus' ministry. Jesus' gospel is about describing the way the world is now. And maybe we can sometimes think that some of the things he's saying are obvious, perhaps, but they're not. And they're not, to be honest, they're not obvious to many of us just going through the world, living through life. For most of us, on a daily basis, if we're not mindful and careful, we will default to assume that death and power are the most powerful things. If you want to affect social change, the best way to do it is to get a lot of really strong, powerful people and affect that change, whether it's through military action or whether through huge amounts of money and wealth and power. That's how you make change. That's how the world changes. If you want to, look at, we look throughout human history, you see all these moments where great armies overthrow other great armies and the world is made anew. And that's the mentality and the psychology of most of the people in Jesus' day. And I'd suggest that's the psychology for a lot of us today, even people that have heard the gospel. And if that's your mindset, that death and power are the things that shape the world, then you look at the raising of Lazarus and you say, well, sure, the world's always going to be like that, but maybe there's hope for me personally. And I fear that one of the temptations of Christianity and being a follower of Jesus is to have a very, very small understanding of what Jesus was about and think that what Jesus is about is saving me. It's about me and Jesus, and I just need to get out of this. And so God's going to come for me and the people that believe in Jesus, and we're going to be saved, and everybody else is going to continue to live in this dog-eat-dog world of destruction and mayhem. But that's not what Jesus was saying. This gospel is not proclaiming something specific for a few chosen people. Jesus is saying, no, that the creator of all that is, the creator of the universe, can be understood through love. God is love, right? That's part of the Johannine tradition throughout in the Gospel of John, as well as the three letters of John, right? The nature of God is love. The nature of reality is love. This is how everything is knit together. That is how you will understand me, God, the world, yourself. And it's an illusion to think that death and power are ultimately going to be triumphant. And so we're invited to live in this new way, not just living in such a way that we will one day be saved, but living right now in this moment, living as believers of in a God and of a world that is knit together with love. What does that mean? Well, it means sort of a paradoxical thing for us. It's a paradox. It means two things true that seem to be opposed. The first one is that God's love, our love, is eternal. We are part of an eternity right now. There is something eternal about your love. The love that you have to share, the love that you feel, is eternal. Not only is your love eternal, but it is knit together and participating within an eternity of love that is grounded and shaped in God. Right? Your love brings you closer to the Holy One, and is eternal, is a part of an eternity. There's something about all of us together that when we participate in our love for God and our love for one another in this way, there's something that never dies about this love in this part of us. That's something we can relax, we can be at peace regardless of our level of achievement or success in the eyes of the world, the amount of power that we've accumulated, or wealth, right? In the eyes of the world. None of that matters in the eyes of God, and ultimately that is not what power is about, what should motivate us as people. We are participating in something eternal when we love and we live as followers of Jesus. And so that's the first piece. And the second piece is that every single moment we're incarnate, and there's something, and God became incarnate through Jesus, and God cares deeply and profoundly about the meals that we eat, whether we're sick or healthy, whether our loved ones are sick or healthy, whether we're where we're at, every breath that we breathe, our physical being, whether we've been well rested, whether all these small minutiae, right? Think about every meal. There's a tradition in the church for centuries and centuries that we say a prayer of thanksgiving before every meal. God cares about this stuff. So the paradox is, on one hand, this is all eternal, right? On one hand, we're participating in this long line of an eternity of love, and we can relax. And on the other hand, every moment of every day, every breath that we take matters to God. It's significant. There is meaning in how we live our lives. There's meaning in what we do each day, regardless of whether we're some incredibly powerful person or a not so powerful person. It matters. It matters to God what we do. I wonder sometimes if this is a paradox, if these sort of two things are true and they're held in tension. I do wonder sometimes if we're thinking about our own private piety, if one of the challenges of a Christian is that we tend to weight one higher than another when they're supposed to be at equal levels. So, for example, for me, I probably tend to lean on the eternity side and say, it's all good. And, maybe I need to hear, yes, Geoff, but also, all of these details matter, and how, it matters how you structure your day. And when you think about the beauty of liturgy, right? There's a feel and a tone, and, in some sense, we're doing something that every other church has done over the course of over 1,000, 2,000 years. It's okay, it's all good, whatever we do. And on the other hand, it matters, all these little details matter. It matters that the live stream didn't work this Sunday. That matters. It matters that the candles are lit. It matters that the hangings are red. It matters that I'm wearing white to observe All Saints' Day, right? All this stuff. And there's something wonderful about that too. We encounter that in liturgy. We're in all these church services, we're doing something eternal, and yet we're observing very, very specific things. And it's beautiful to relish in the minutiae and the perfection of liturgy when we can do it. So I wanted to offer you this sermon. This is the sermon that I preached on Sunday, and I think there's an audio recording of the whole thing. But by the way, no one else is here. I'm completely by myself. It's 2:00 on Sunday afternoon. We have evensong rehearsal at 3. But I wanted to offer you this as, I guess, a consolation for missing another week of worship online. I'm so sorry about that. So I'm really hoping we're going to fix this as soon as possible. And in the meantime, I'm happy to share this sermon with you. And please let me know. Give me some response into your response to this, and that maybe this is something that I can do as well. Anyway, so on behalf of everyone at St. Matthew's, God bless you, and have a wonderful week.